Stop calling them a few bad apples and start talking about systemic racism. Systemic or institutional oppression refers to those oppressive processes that are coded in the ways that institutions simply function. These are formal processes that often merge with informal processes and individual bias. For example, stop and frisk policies allow police to stop someone without cause, and this merges with increased police presence in communities of color and merges with individual biases that assume Black people are drug dealers. Then the result is racism being embedded in policies that on the surface appear to be race neutral, but then make it easy to justify racial differences in police experiences, saying that it's due to true differences in Black and white criminality. We see systemic racism in almost anywhere you can imagine: banking, education, and of course policing. The fact that we're only now seeing a handful of cases where officers are being questioned for unprovoked excessive violence against Black men, women, and children shows that there's systemic racism in police use of force. And note, I did not say that they're being held accountable, because there's also systemic racism in the judicial system that historically fails to hold white people, especially cops, accountable for the harm they inflict on Black people. But there's another reason why the bad apples trope does not explain away police abuse of power and abuse of trust, because they almost never act alone. Typically, there are one or two cops committing the horrific acts, but there are several others that are watching and doing nothing to stop it. I'm going to show you a few short clips that show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to warn you, they're very difficult to watch.
In the grass! Yeah, bro, we're hoopers. On your face!
Hey, y'all film it. Y'all film it, okay? But you chill out.
I literally appreciate that. That's my sister.
Jesus shit. He's fucking abusing her. He put out his gun on her.
I have freedom to speak.
No, I didn't. Get your butts out of here.
That's my cousin.
He pulled out his gun on her.
And then you also hit me too. He hit me too, though. He hit me in the face.
The pair then walk quietly for a little while before the teen screams. There's a struggle. Her shirt starts to come off as she goes to the ground. She starts crying, trying to get up. At one point, you can see the officer push her head down towards the concrete, but she uses her hand to brace herself and get back up. At that point, Officer Lindsay Howley walks up and helps restrain the teen.
But I didn't put my hands on you.
From Officer Howley's body cam, you can see Officer Uberov holding her by the arm, dragging her to the car as she cries and asks for her mother. They manage to get the teen into the car, but she refuses to put both legs inside, holding the door open with her foot. You can see and hear bystanders yelling at officers.
Let her go. You about to break her foot.
Get down! Stop punching me! Punch in the car! Punch me!
In each of these cases, there was one bad apple cop actively traumatizing these kids. But the true betrayal is all of the other officers that allowed this to happen, that did not protect these children. What officers need to understand is that the inaction of the officers that let this happen is part of why people of color mistrust the police. Because even if you're one of the good ones, you're likely to do nothing as your fellow officers brutalize or even kill us.